Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
It's our pleasure and honor to be here together with our honorable guests. And today we'll be discuss about current and future trends, challenges, and changes in our gaming market.
That's right. Our discussion panel is devoted to free-to-play games in the $100 billion global games market. Free-to-play games, it's not only a business model that's changed completely our industry, but a way to run your business. Today, we host experts, industry experts, who will discuss the changes, the main trends, and the challenges. Please welcome Shagar Egger from Good Games Studio, the International Business Development Manager responsible for strategic partnership of his company in China.
Igor Hachaturian, Director of Global Marketing and Head of Gaijin Europe.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Netta Emmanuel, gaming experts connected with such companies like Big Pond, Player X, and WWG Worldwide Games.
Michał Miłosz, Territory Manager at Gameforge, responsible for CE Europe.
That's right.
Thank you.
And Ross Light, Chief Digital Officer at Soma, one of the founders of Virgin Games, voted top 50 mobile influencers.
Okay.
We are happy that you are here. We will start our discussion point from global trends. Generally, the global games market is going to reach over 102 billion US dollars by 2017, comparing to $75 billion in 2013. A large share of this growth will be driven by rising population of gamers in Eastern Europe, Asia, Latin America, Middle East, and Africa. From your perspective, from your point of view, which world region will be the most interesting for free-to-play developers and distributors? Please, let's start with Netta.
Thank you for the introduction, and hello all of you. Well, obviously, at Big Point, what we looked at regarding emerging markets were LATAM, because the market is still there. I mean, you look at free-to-play where you can get a mass market where the high population is, and obviously that is LATAM and Asia, where there is a really high population. So I think there is also a big growth coming in the next years. Eastern Europe is always an interesting market for free-to-play, has always been and becomes more and more important to free-to-play as well. So that would be my guess for the future. Yeah, LATAM, Asia, Eastern Europe.
Asia and Eastern Europe.
And LATAM.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks from my side for the introduction too, and for the invite. For us, it's obvious we just started last year a strategic partnership with 360, the biggest app store market in China. And for us, it's obvious it's China becoming biggest new market. But it's a closed environment. It's really, really hard for Western developers to enter this market. Yeah, I think this will be the future.
Yeah, hello and thanks for invitation. I think for Gaijin, the biggest growing markets in terms of the population will definitely be LATAM, because there is a huge population in countries like Brazil and Argentina, and it's not really explored by the European companies. On the other hand, there are also Asian countries which are also developing. They are very difficult countries or markets to penetrate, but quite a few markets like Japan is also extremely interesting for us, because it is a very, very interesting market, and you can really get money out of Japanese people. they're really ready to pay for free-to-play.
And how about Africa?
From our experience, Africa at the moment is not there yet. We try to work on several African countries, and the feedback basically is not there. I think the infrastructure is not there. And as we discussed it before, they're more mobile than hardcore PC games, and that's where Gaijin is strong.
Rather mobile gamers, yes.
Hello, and thank you for nice words and introduction. From our perspective, I would say very promising is Central and Eastern Europe, of course. There are many fast-growing countries with really good internet infrastructure and with, I guess, big margin for improvement. Also, we're looking close to Latin America because they have a huge population, they have good infrastructure, and those countries are promising for us. I would say still there is a place for improvement in some Western European countries, like Italy, for example. It's very, very cool country.
A very difficult one.
Yeah, it is difficult. Of course, managing is not really simple, but yes, it's really promising country, and we can get more from it.
Hi there. I'll echo what everyone else has said. I think that there are two things to take into account. One is that by 2020, 80% of adults in the world will own a smartphone. So you're looking at smartphone adoption rates, but at the same time, what's holding back usage is data costs. So any country you look at, you have to understand, A, where the income levels are sat with the middle class, which tends to be the early adopters into the gaming side of things, where the smartphone penetration is of that country, and then the data packages, which the cost of those. So interestingly, so Brazil, I think, is a really interesting country. Massive middle class, 100 million people, big smartphone ownership, great opportunity. That's obviously someone out there is agreeing with Brazil. I think that actually in Africa, Nigeria will be really interesting. Middle East, in particular, smaller areas, but Dubai being interesting. And we found quite in good marketplaces in places like Vietnam and Thailand, in particular, for growth and opportunity to be able to access outside of that. But the one market I'm most interested in is India. Just huge opportunity in that market space, and very, very little incumbent players.
Okay, let's stay with some figures. In 2013, there were 1.6 billion gamers global. And by 2017, it's estimated it will be about 2.2 billion gamers. So 600 million more consumer for gaming industry, and in just 4 years. And it will be mainly intercepted by mobile and online gaming. So my question is, how the global gamers population will be looks in 2017, and who will be the main target group for free-to-play? Netta?
Yeah, I think this morning we had breakfast together, and we already had half a panel already done there. The question was, who is actually a gamer? Like, are the women, the millions of women, or also apparently some men play Candy Crush, I heard. There are some, I won't say the names, but there are some sitting here who play Candy Crush. So are they considered gamers? Are they not considered gamers? And I think in our point of view, they are considered gamers, because anyone who plays a game and pays for it, we are happy to call him a gamer. So we don't really care what kind of game they're playing, as long as they are paying some money. So I think there will be a big growth in mobile and in the casual gaming industry. I mean, I see a lot of people play games while they're on the train, while they commute. So there is really the time and the boredom to do something where you have nothing to do. And so I think we will see a big growth in casual gaming and mobile, and that will be free to play for me in the future. Obviously, there will still be the hardcore gamers who play MMOs, who play in guilds, and who play in a community, but I think a bigger growth, because they're already playing, so they won't be the growth. They will be still there, but I think in that part, from my point of view.
There's actually not that much what I can add, except of will be people who don't have that much time to play games. So that's why I would say it will be more mobile and male, of course, because this is the main target group for every gaming company, because they know that male are making the most revenue. Of course, if you look at Candy Crush, maybe there's a lot of women, but the paying users are mostly male. And this is something what I don't think that will change in the future. And yeah, time is getting less and people will spend to buy time in the games. This will be something what I think.
So yeah, in my opinion, actually, these 600 million new gamers, I think most of them would be or would start with a mobile, because it is the easiest way nowadays to get acquainted to games. You just pick up, you start playing. It's very easy. Lots of entertaining games, and you don't need really to spend time. You can play in the metro or while you're waiting for your train. But I also think there is a huge possibility there for big LAN games, because people who are actually, they start playing the small games and then they move on and then they want bigger games with better graphics on consoles, both on consoles and PCs. And obviously I think the mobile games are going to cannibalize on the browser games, as they are already doing.
I guess it's a really tricky question because it's really hard to define who gamer is. And I guess the right definition is everyone who's playing anything. And what target group will be or how gamers will look like. I think from my perspective, the perception of video games and gamers is changing. I remember the times when it all started, let's say, and for some people, gamers were some freaks. They're not doing sports, they're doing something strange, wasting time in front of the computer. And now, I must admit, I'm really fascinated with e-sport. You can see that teenagers have new gods. It's no longer Michael Jordan or someone else. It's a person who plays video games like League of Legends or some other titles. So I think the esport will be growing really, really big, and MOBA games will be very strong, or some other competitive titles. We will have, I don't know, maybe not in the next few years, but in a longer perspective, some kind of Olympic games, Olympic video games. And of course, more people will get used to the games like a way to spend your free time. So the casual games will grow, social games will grow, mobile gaming will grow. This will be something really, really big in my eyes. Of course, now we got things like VR experiments. This is also can move gaming to another level of gaming. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I think that it's not the number of people that are playing games that's really interesting to me, because earlier on today I was talking about power curves and Pareto's 80-20 principle, and the fact that there'll be lots and lots of people who play games very infrequently. There will be a few people who will play games a lot. And the question is, how do you monetize those people? Are you monetizing the people who are playing infrequently, currently through advertising at a very, very low monetization rate, and then you're asking for those people to pay as the very, very frequent players, the ones to pay? So of the new 600 million people out there, ultimately, we're looking at 1%, 2%, 3% of people who are going to be the real people who are paying in this model of freemium at the moment. So we should not get hung up about volume, we should get hung up about frequency and how people play.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I think we should not only focus on those people who pay inside our games. Of course, they are paying our salaries and that's cool, but also those people need other people to socialize with them. So of course, the big numbers are really cool because those players have proper environment to exist in it.
So again, this morning, what I talked about was that social networks are slowing and messaging is growing. The reason someone goes to a social network is to socialize. They might play games on there as well, right? Which becomes the currency of socialization, right? Similarly, for for messaging apps, right? The reason they want to do is to connect with their friends. They might play games once they're there. They're not going there to play games specifically. It's the social and the messaging side of things that is the growth area of this. It's how we can create games that take advantage of those behaviors and habits, which I don't think is about porting what we do in the PC world onto mobile or in the mobile app world or in the Facebook world directly into a messaging app. I think it's about creating new ways of being able to communicate with those people, new types of games. Attention's getting shorter. You know, attention spans are getting shorter. As I said, we're down to 15 seconds of video on Instagram, 7 seconds of video on Vine. We're not watching three-minute videos anymore. So we have to think about devices like watches, which are connecting people, which is, again, 5 seconds in here. So the types of games will change radically as these platforms take over in terms of that. But they're going to socialize, and games are just currency within that. So the super casual games which have come out, you know, those Flappy Birds and, you know, Crossy Road and all those aspects of things are aimed at a brief snack, a really brief snack. We're not asking someone to spend minutes playing it, we're asking them to spend 10 seconds, 20 seconds playing. And increasingly, as screens get smaller and to a certain extent disappear, or our attention spans get quicker and shorter, and there's more out there vying for our attention, those type of games become really interesting. How you monetize them is completely different to how you might monetize a Clash of Clans or something in that way, though.
From your experience, which one, online games or mobile games, will be #1 in terms of revenues? Okay.
Mobile games will definitely be is the top at the moment, and I think in the future it will also be one of the biggest revenue streams for game developers. But because of the user acquisition, I don't know. All right, now, because of user acquisition is getting more and more expensive, that's why I think people will switch, the developers will switch sooner or later from a very competitive market like the mobile businesses to web. Sooner or later people will do it, because at the moment if you look at the mobile gaming industry, you will see a lot of competition, and there are coming so many games out these days, and really high quality games, but they cannot make it because if, let's say, Machine Zone decided to spend €25 for user acquisition, how can an indie developer or a small studio compete with them? It's not possible. But if you look at the same time on the web at the moment, there are not that much competition. So that's why I think in the future it will get more or less equal and people will shift.
Netta, what do you think? If you would spend money on new product, would it be mobile or online game?
Well, if I had to spend money on something, it probably would be a big yacht, but yeah, okay, I guess you were asking for games. So I would bet on mobile. Well, basically, I don't think it's mobile or online. I already had a quick discussion with Jalar before. I think the future is more across platform, because I think you have now so many devices and they live with each other. I mean, you are at your computer, at work, then you take your phone, you go home, you might want to continue something you just did, then you go home, you sit in front of the TV, you use your tablet, so everything is connected. You can do it with your email. You can access your email from any device you want. And imagine I would tell you, you can only access your email from your computer but not from your cell phone. Where would you access your email? I mean, I think gaming, that's what I would predict for the future, will be very similar. Why should we tell the user where he should play? If the gamer wants to play from a phone or from a computer or from his console, it should be possible for him to play the game and continue where he left. So I don't know. I would go for try to make a smooth transition through the device.
And how about monetization, where the player will pay on mobile or online?
That's a good question. Well, still nowadays you can see that people are a bit skeptic about paying with their phone because it's not secure. You don't have a firewall like on your computer. You feel like you're more in control of your computer than of your cell phone. But on the other side, with Google and the whole ecosystem that is closed, you can only have your credit card and pay with it. So I think people getting more and more used to pay via their mobile phone. So in the future it will be better. But I think today in their minds, paying via computer is still more secure than paying via your phone. That's how I perceive people still think.
Yeah, I think in terms of revenues, definitely in 2 years nothing will change, and the like big online games will still dominate the revenue market. Obviously, you see much more new mobile games coming out, and as it was already mentioned, we also believe that cross-platform is the next big thing, and you should give the opportunity to the players to decide where and how to play that. The problem is that at the moment mobile is still not there in terms of performance, and for like really hardcore games and graphically demanding games like War Thunder, it's still not there yet, but it's coming, and we are also going to release, I think end of this year or next year, we're definitely going to release War Thunder for mobile, and it will be not a separate game like many other companies do, but it will be the same game, and you will definitely have the ability to play in the same session with other guys, cross-platform as you can now through PS4, PC, and Mac.
But don't you think that the user behavior of a mobile gamer is much more different than a web gamer?
Obviously.
So, and if you go cross-platform, there will be really a big, you will have big troubles to balance this issue. Don't you think that?
The only trouble balancing there, what we see is the trouble of having good user interface on mobile that will allow user to play satisfactory on the satisfactory level. And this is what we're working on at the moment. But in terms of user behavior, I don't think it will be a big issue because they know what they are going for. I mean, obviously you will not be able to compare War Thunder on mobile with Clash of Clans. No, they are like two different worlds, but also the target group is completely different.
I absolutely agree with cross-platform direction. It doesn't have to be like you play the same game on mobile device and on desktop. For example, now we can observe things like with big AAA titles, you have some content which is destined for high-end PCs, but you got some kind of extension of this content which you can do on your mobile phone, like play some mini games which helps you get something else in the real game. Maybe that's one of the directions, and I think the way how all devices will change in next few years, it will be hard to distinguish what's desktop and what's mobile.
I mean, take a look on the Surface numbers, Microsoft Surface. They have 64% growth this year compared to last year in terms of sales. And it's basically where there is a synergy between tablets and a normal desktop computer. Obviously, there is not enough power yet for a really good hardcore gaming experience, but we are moving into that direction.
But there are no games on this. I have one, and there is no content for that.
Yeah, well, it's a normal Windows. You can, theoretically, you can play any Windows game on the tablet. The other thing is that you will not do that now because it's just too lame and the graphic power is not there. But we will definitely reach that day.
And beside that, if you think about if you want to add new content to your game and it's a cross-platform game, you're dependent on Google's approving, then you're dependent on Apple's approving, and then you have to, this is technically a really big thing especially for indie developers.
Well, we have now the cross-platform game, like War Thunder is cross-platform on Mac, PS4, PC, and Linux actually. So the only problems that we are sometimes facing is that there is a slight delay for approval QA on Sony side, but we have now the situation when it is only like a couple of days, so we have to submit the patch like a couple of days before. And the minor patches we can do on our servers without any approval. So this is, technically, it's not a big deal.
Ross wanted to add something.
Yeah, well, I think the cross-platform, whether it works cross-platform or not, is to a sophisticated existing audience. The next billion people that come online will not come on via a PC. They will only come on via mobile. So you're going to have a very, very split audience. You're going to have an audience that has access to a PC, and uses it, and that's a Western, Eastern developed audience, right? Upper middle class audience that does things for business. But in Africa, in India, even in China, it is going to be mobile only. LATAM, it's mobile only. So you're going to have an audience that will be mobile only, and that mobile only behavior will be radically different to how we think about on PCs on that basis. And so. My feeling is that you've got to decide which audience you're going to go and talk to, because if you want to talk to the mobile-only guys, they're also going to be at monetization levels initially that are really, really tiny, that are really small. And so you've got to go to a position of looking for a long game with that audience, not a short game hit, right? Because you're not going to make multiple billions out of that audience to begin with. You're going to have to work with them over time. It's a 10-year shift that's happening on that basis.
You indicate cross-platform as one very important trend. What other trends from free-to-play point of view you can indicate in following 3 years?
Well, my personal trend and hopeful trend is virtual reality. Like I had one time an Oculus Rift, and it's amazing. The experience, you're really, like, for me, gaming and is like going into a different world and really feeling yourself in this world, submerging in this world. And with this virtual reality is amazing. You really feel like you're not here. You feel like you can be on an island, and you really think, your brain really believes you are on an island right now. And I think that will be the next thing in gaming, virtual reality, and more devices that bring you real gaming experience into your home.
Shagler? Yes, please.
I would bet on mobile and tablets. There's still so much growth, and there's still so much things to explore there. There are coming, new devices with better graphics, and the games will be much better in the future. And I think what is right now the big thing will be also the big thing in the future. But of course, virtual reality is something very awesome, but it's not made for the majority, I think.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we are supporting Oculus Rift from the very beginning, though I'm not quite sure if it really will take off. We're still in basically kindergarten of the virtual reality, and it's not really clear if it will become mainstream or not. On the other hand, coming back to your question, I think I'll be conservative. I don't think that there will be major changes there. There might be some shifts, and some people will actually go from free-to-play to paid model. And I've heard from many developers on mobile, like they said, we started a game, especially on Apple devices, and it was free to play, and it performed horribly. And then we moved on and made the game and tweaked it and made it a paid game for $3.99. And suddenly we have 5 times the revenues. So I think there will be this free-to-play hype will go a bit down. On one hand, on the other hand, there will not be significant shifts in that market.
I maybe will repeat myself, but I think it will. The future is with games really focused on competition and on esport. This growing so fast, and this is really amazing thing. So I really see the future with esport games, really close to esport, supporting esport, and having proper gameplay and mechanics which allow people to compete. And that's the future for me. That's the trend for the upcoming days.
I'd echo the rise of paid games coming back. I think that's going to be a big call. I think we can start to see services that aggregate games together and provide currencies across the service as a subscription level. So I expect to see a Spotification of gaming. I expect to see the increase in location in mobile becoming really important. The decrease in attention, making games smaller, more snackable. And I'd just like to point out that if you look at the map up there, in Canada, there's a dragon eating Greenland on the back there. Or is that just me? I'm seeing the dragon today. So I think that the point is it's all open for play, right? There are no rules. Just because freemium today has become the model of choice for people to enter the marketplace does not mean, as you rightly say, that that's going to create the revenues that is required to be able to run a sustainable business. Just because strategy works today does not mean that it will work tomorrow on that base. So everything is open at the moment to create new models. I think particularly for marketplaces where data is expensive and mobiles are not as sophisticated. I expect to see HTML5 gaming become a reality. If you look at the smartphone handsets out there at the moment, like Firefox at $25, getting fantastic traction in LATAM and India. That's running on an HTML5 platform. Apps don't exist in that manner. So pretty much anywhere in the world, you're going to be able to find, if you can find the right pocket of people and serve a need for them with some form of game and entertainment, you're going to be able to write the rules, and you don't have to take on the rules of everything else in this business.
I would also like to add something. What I also think is we see a lot of games from the past, like what Candy Crush is for me a perfect example of something that we know for ages and years that has worked. Bejeweled is there for, I don't know, 10 years at least, but still they managed to make a new gaming experience out of a match 3 principle. And what did they do? They just brought a community together. What was new is you saw where your friends are and you had a competition with your friends. So I think it's also maybe the games that we play today might bring a different touch when you put it in a whole community and suddenly maybe everyone here in the room will suddenly play against each other or something. And in Japan I saw that people were standing on the street playing against each other. They stand next to each other and they played on their phone next to each other. And that's something I think that will also come in gaming in the future, that really might bring people together in a room and they just play against each other, or not in a virtual room or whatever. I think this is also something that we might see.
I mean, and that's really, really important, because what games do is they fundamentally act upon the psychology of the player, right? They're doing it for a reason. Are they doing it for ego, recognition, boredom, something habitual that becomes there? This is behavioral psychology, right? And that's what's effectively taking over the world of marketing. There's a brilliant book called Nudge, which talks about the little things that change people's behavior by just changing the way in which things are presented or words that are spoken. And it's a really, really great book. I suggest you read it, because I think in game design and game theory, what we're trying to do is ultimately affect the brain psychologically. And that's why I'm really excited about things like fitness, where we can start to help people become fitter and healthier, not through the technology which is on a wearable, but through the games and the usage of that data to be able to challenge us and to keep us moving forward. To me, you know, Nike Plus is a fantastic game. We don't call it a game, but it is. And Nike monetizes that by making, selling more trainers, right? So, in effect, that's the way we've got to start thinking. Don't think of even games as just being standalone things. Think about how brands can help them to be able to integrate them into their marketing.
And we have only 15 minutes left and two big discussion points. The second one is connected with games on Eastern European markets. Generally, Polish total value of Polish market is around $270 million. Right after Russian Federation, 1.2 billion US dollars, and before Romania, Ukraine, and Czech Republic. And which of the regions from Eastern European countries will be the most interesting for free-to-play developers and distributors in the next 3 years from Eastern European countries?
Well, I think, again, nothing will change there. Obviously, we're seeing crisis now in Russia, but the market is coming back again. And because the Eastern European gaming market, even online, is quite settled at the moment. So we will not see any big changes. We might see countries like Bulgaria coming up and catching up with Czech Republic and others, but we will not see a major shift there. Still, Russia will be #1, and Poland will be probably #2. Czech Republic is catching up, though there are not that many gamers there as in Poland, but they are paying much more actively than the Polish.
So very often we listen some expression that Polish market is more connected with quantity than quality. How you can what is your opinion about such statement?
I can sign that. No, it's really true. The Polish people, they really like to play games. They play a lot, and in terms of like conversion ratios that we're seeing, Poland is one of the top countries at all. But in terms of paying users, Poland is really falling behind other big countries. But obviously, Poland is still a very, very interesting market just because of its sheer size.
Michał, what is your personal opinion about it?
There is a truth in the sentence you said. Indeed, there is a lot of Polish players. They put a lot of effort in creating community and so on, but they are not really good players. And I think it's something in our genes that we always looking for a loophole to get something for free and not pay for it. And yeah, it brings a lot of problems.
Money for nothing and chicks for free.
Yes, exactly. But I think it can change, and I really do believe that players in Poland are not really rich, but if they will find a product with proper quality, they will be really eager to pay for it.
I think that them not paying is our problem, right? Not our problem in terms of our revenues, but our problem in terms of not offering the right thing or not being able to understand what will motivate them, right? I'm a firm believer. I mean, you can pay by getting data, right? When something is free, the product is you, right? And in that case, you can monetize that data in a different way. Games do a terrible job at being able to understand their users. I mean, absolutely appalling in comparison to every other service out there online. Insurance, banking, everyone is miles ahead of game companies in terms of understanding their audiences, right? And in doing so, that's our problem. Our problem is we're trying to force people into a model that they're maybe not happy with. Well, break the model and change the model and find other ways of getting revenue from it, is my view of it.
Of course, there are some solutions for better monetizing markets like Poland. For example, we have a lot of demands that prices should be lower. And of course, depend what product you have, you can do that kind of policy or not. For example, if you have separated Polish servers in-game where you do not compete with other countries, you can create different monetization policy, lower prices and so on. and you will not experience rage from, I don't know, Western European countries. But for example, if you are League of Legends or War Thunder, where people from France, Poland, and Turkey, and I don't know, from Latin America play on the one server, and you will have different prices in shop, that would be unfair.
Definitely be a problem. Yeah. No one will accept that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And people will try to find loopholes and use it.
Exactly, like doing VPN and doing Polish accounts registration or so on. So, yeah, it is possible in some games, but in some not. But yeah.
But I think it's also a matter. It's not only a matter of game design monetization, but also a matter of mentality. I mean, why the same game? Why do people pay in one country and not in the other? And even in countries that are similar, if you look at Germany and Austria, I know Austrians will hate me for saying that now, but I think the mentality is not so different, but still the monetization is different and the behavior is different. I mean, I think it's a question of how they grow up, what are used to. And in Germany, I think people feel bad if they get something for free and they don't pay for it, even though they know it's kind of free. But something in their mind tells them, no, but I have to pay. It's for free. Someone worked for it. It's like something you grew up with. And in other countries, it's just, it's for free. They gave it to me. Why would I pay for it? They wanted to give it to me for free. It's not my fault, you know. So I think it's a matter of mentality as well, not only of game design.
I agree, but it's easier to have this kind of mentality where your average salary is, I don't know, 2,000 euro per month. And when you have like less than 1,000, you really need to count how much money you can spend on entertainment. And probably that is why people in Poland likes to get things for free, and they really think 4 times, 5 times, or 10 times before they spend some money on entertainment.
Yeah, there is definitely a problem of mentality on one hand and a problem of wealth on the other hand. So like countries like Germany or United States, they are readily paying for the content if they like it. On the other hand, there are also countries where they don't understand how the product can be free, like in Japan. They are so used to pay for everything in gaming, so they really don't understand the free-to-play model, and that's why we see very high revenues in Japan. On the other hand, we have countries like Poland where people are used to have they try to do everything for free. All the intangible stuff is not worth their money in their minds. And because gaming is intangible, and especially online games, you don't buy a box, you just have an intangible game that you download for free, then you don't pay for it, that's it. And like in Czech Republic, it's a very similar country, but a bit more wealthy than Poland. They pay much more than here.
Ross, you're one of the founders of Virgin Games. Have you ever considered to enter Poland?
So Virgin in particular was mostly in real money gambling. So we did some social gambling and the likes, but it was mostly in the real money. So we made a very definitive decision that we wouldn't enter any territory where there was any form of greyness over the legality of real money gambling. I mean, clearly it's a very, very small marketplace. You know, only 1% of adults actually gamble for cash on casino or bingo or poker type games. You know, maybe 3-4% actually bet online. But in doing so, it's a very lucrative marketplace as well in terms of the amount of money that is spent. But we won't take money from, when we're at Virgin, from countries which actively did not tax that or find that there was a legal reality behind it. If we did, if it was legal, then I think what we've been talking about here on the panel is that every country has different mentalities, different attitudes towards, from a consumer to businesses, to what they'll pay for, what they won't pay for. You need local knowledge on the ground, right, to enter into this. You can expect to do a little bit of success if you just come and look at it from a global perspective, but we're quite happy to go and throw around, let's go and do Brazil, or let's go and do this. Actually, to be really successful, you need to understand the culture and the whole aspect of what that country is. So you need to have people on the ground to make that happen.
Unfortunately, time is running so fast, but one completely different question, Igor, we were talking today during breakfast, how current geopolitical situation can influence into gaming. how relationship between Russia and current turmoil among Ukraine can impact gaming business?
Well, obviously, the political situation itself doesn't change much. The economical situation does change. And we have seen plummeting incomes from Russia when the ruble just, lost almost 70% of its value. But now it's coming back. Obviously, we also have seen some kind of tensions between like Ukrainian and Russian guys within the game, but they were mostly negligible and we could take it under control. And still, people both from Russia and Ukraine play together, no big deal. I don't think that really political situation is really influencing on that. You have to be a bit more careful when you're doing a marketing campaign though. So if you're doing a marketing campaign like us, a Russian company in the Western countries, we always have to be a bit more careful what kind of assets are we using, what kind of wording are we using and stuff like this. But it's more or less visual, business as usual.
Shagler, in your opinion?
Sorry?
Shagler, your opinion?
My opinion?
Yes.
I would say when we look at China, of course, we all want to enter China, but there's a great Chinese firewall, so we can't. So if you go and want to publish your games in China, then you have to go through a publisher there directly, or you have to open an entity there. So, and in this case, this is a big trouble or a big issue for Western developers if they want to enter a market where there is political issues. So in a way it does, in another way it doesn't. So it depends.
Are we still with Russia or are we in China now?
No, we are talking about Russian situation.
Obviously it's always a problem when you have a game that works internationally and you try to adapt the local currency. Like in Big Point we had the ruble as a currency and the price points in rubles. So you can imagine we didn't get the same amount in euros anymore for the same amount of rubles, so the revenues went pretty much down, and then you have to adapt and adjust very quickly because I think the whole digital business is a business that is 100 times faster than any offline business, and the whole political situation came slowly. I mean, if you look how the ruble went down the whole year through, it was really, you had to react quickly at the beginning and then just be smart about it and try not to minimize your damage. But obviously, such a situation, you see in revenues, it's a big topic in revenues for sure.
So unfortunately, we don't have more time.
But we have a lot of more questions. But
next time we have to secure about 2 hours at least.
Yes, I think so.
So thank you very much for our guest.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the moderators as well.